Hi everyone, I'm Rosanna.
And I'm Nettie.
And today we're going to be making some
spun cotton pixie pumpkins.
And you just need some really simple supplies. So for your supplies, we're doing just the standard cotton ball, drugstore cotton balls that you can get. A big bag of those for like a couple dollars maybe at any pharmacy or discount store or whatever, just basic. I am going to have Nettie using my fancier fiber. I will link that. I'll link the different sources where I get that. And I also have it available with some other fibers and supplies in a little spun cotton starter kit in my website shop. Some wire of some sort. This is kind of uncoated wire. You could use paper coated wire. You could use a twist tie. You could use a pipe cleaner. If you use a pipe cleaner for your stem, you wouldn't even necessarily have to cover it. Like we're going to cover our wire with cotton, or you could cover it with jute twine. I'm also going to show you how to make one that uses jute twine for the stem with no wire. So there's lots of options. Don't feel like if you don't have a few of the supplies that you can't improvise. You could use some cotton kitchen twine or other cotton yarn. We're going to have a foil base, so I used my old chocolate bar wrappers. I just saved them in boxes. Also, you could use crepe if you wanted a little different texture for the stem. Someone suggested, this is so clever, I know that people who make fabric pumpkins save actual pumpkin stems for those. Well, she said she had been saving her pepper stems, and I had never thought of that. I'm so glad she mentioned it. So I had a few dried hot peppers, chili peppers, and they would be perfect. I don't actually have them on a pumpkin yet because she suggested it after I made all my pumpkins, but I'm definitely going to do that. So just get really creative. There's all kinds of things you can do. School glue is what I use for my glue mix. So it's 1 part glue to 4 parts water. So 1 tablespoon of school glue to 4 tablespoons of water. I am going to do a little bit of Mod Podge on some of these just to show you how that goes. It's sometimes a little dicey, I find, but it worked out okay, I think, today. I also then have these mica products. So this is ground mica or mica dust, and this is the flakes. And this you will see on the older spun cotton things. It gives that very antique-y look. So that's a fun thing. I will link those in the description. Of course, scissors. When we make these, which are a little card or photo holder, I put a rock in them to give them more heft and weight them down better so that they would balance and hold that weight and not be too top heavy. So if you have a few stones or rocks, a toothpick can always come in handy, possibly a darning needle, hot glue if you want. You can do it without hot glue, or you could use some craft glue, but you can definitely do all of this project with just your Elmer's glue. So there are kind of workarounds for everything. And then the other thing that I'm introducing today, and I will have that in other make-alongs, is 100% cotton quilt batting. So I'll show you how I make, like this pumpkin is made with that, and this one is. It just gives you some really nice definition, and that is also one of the supplies in my kit, but I'll link where I found this on Amazon, so I'll put that there for you too. And then these little cards that I ended up making after I got going with all of this. I decided I wanted to make some little place cards to use with my pumpkins. So that is available as a downloadable PDF printable file in my website as well. So I hope I'm not plugging things too much, but I really do like these, and they are very affordable if you happen to have a color printer. So anyway, did I hit everything? I know I always forget at least one thing. I guess there would be like paintbrushes, would be handy, different sizes, but one bigger one for your actual cotton application, and of course water. That should cover it, I hope. And so we will get making. Paint. You must have paint. You can make this particular pumpkin has no paint except for the stem, which you could probably figure out how to do that with a pen or marker. So you could make white pumpkins without paint, but we're going to demonstrate using watercolor today. You can also definitely use, just an acrylic craft paint if that's what you have, or if that's what you prefer. You could use gouache as well, but we're demonstrating with watercolors today. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to get our pumpkins out of the way. I just wanted you to see what we would be making. And I have this table set up a little differently, so please do leave me some feedback if it's better or worse. I've had some nice constructive criticism, not even criticism so much as just suggestions from a few people, that if there was a darker background, the camera would have less trouble focusing, and it would just be easier to see what I was working on. And I thought I had tried some different fabrics in the background and thought they would be dark enough for contrast, but I don't think they were. So I pulled a shelf out of a wardrobe today just because I didn't have anything else that I could think of that was the right size. And anyway, I hope that this darker board here might help you to see better, so let me know. And we are just going to get going here. So the easiest way to do this is to cut a length of your wire. Nettie, you cut however long you want. I like kind of a long stem to kind of do a little curly cue with, but you might want, like Nettie did, a little stubby stem on her pumpkin, which is cute too.
I'm doing a stubby stem.
Yep, Nettie's a stubby stem girl, so
I think it's adorable.
it is. Okay, so then all you do is kind of, if you did the strawberry pins one, or make along, you just are gonna secure your wire in your foil with a dab of glue. You would not absolutely have to do the hot glue. It will stay if you're careful, but this just gives you a little insurance policy, because if you are not thinking about it, it can slide out. So once you have the cotton on, you should really be fine. The cotton is gonna be keeping everything together, but while you're working with it and don't have all the cotton on, it can kind of just slide out on you. So decide how big you want, and then think about a small, some of you might have maybe a 1/4 inch of cotton by the time you're done. My layers aren't usually quite that big, but that's because I usually have a better idea where I'm going. So do you want a flat squashy pumpkin or a tall one? Are you doing a little guy this time?
Yeah, I'm doing a flat squashy one.
It's pretty little, yeah. Cute. Okay. You can, if your foil isn't hanging together because you had kind of small pieces, you can put a little bit of masking tape on. I just like to remind you to make it as smooth as you can if you're using the foil, because those little jagged, sharp edges or corners that you make will be harder. They'll take more cotton, like layers of cotton, to smooth out and cover. Okay, so then you can just take your cotton ball or your cotton fiber, whatever you have. You could also use like the quilt. Sorry, I had someone mention me that I probably say her estimate was 200 to 300 times per video, so that I did know, of course, because I do edit the videos, and I have to play them back many, many times, you know, before they're done. So I had realized that was a...
I forgot to put glue
Yeah,
on
you
my
forgot glue,
foil.
didn't you? So you just brush a little glue on your foil, and then you start pressing. You can use that. I'll use this one.
Okay.
Or do you want this one?
This one.
Okay. Anyway, she did mention to me what her estimate was for how many ums I get in a video, and that made me more self-conscious, but unless I just like had, I don't know, I suppose if you had like some method of training yourself, like when I'm just talking throughout the day, if I could get like zapped or something every time I said then maybe I could learn to talk without it. But it's pretty hard to notice, there it was, to notice it as you're speaking, as opposed to just when you're listening to yourself back. So I do know, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate everyone who says that they enjoy the videos and like to listen to me talk, despite the fact that every other word is so you guys are really troopers and very gracious. So sorry, now I really am going to be noticing it this video. Maybe that's the problem. I was like, if I take out, I don't even know how to talk anymore. So it's either that or I just have to do silent videos. I suppose if I that was the other thing that's suggested, is I make a script and just, you know, do the voiceover. I'll think about it, but that's not really where my heart is right now, is doing the video essays. Okay, how's yours going, Nat?
Good.
Okay, so we're just getting one coat, fairly thin coat, on our pumpkin. Now, if you want to just make a smooth pumpkin and not worry about kind of making ribs, then this is a very, very simple project, and you just need to get enough cotton on that kind of the lumpiness of the foil is mostly smoothed out. And then it would be really cute to make kind of a primitive style. Do you know what I'm talking about? Kind of the paper mache pumpkins that are kind of old antique-y vintage style, where they would just have a little goofy little face painted on them. And those are a lot of times just a smooth like paper mache base, and you wouldn't have to worry about the ribs at all. So you could definitely make like a little group of these guys, like with goofy faces and kind of bright colors, and I think that would be really cute. But we are just we're not doing Halloween pumpkins today. We are just doing kind of, well, we're calling them pixie pumpkins, but they're something that could just go all through the autumn season. Done. Nettie's fast. She likes to use her fingers more to kind of sculpt it. Now, what do you do for the ribs?
You take a piece of cotton and make it, and twist it and make it into a thick kind of line, and then you stick it on. And I made mine a little too long, so that's okay. I'm just going to...
Nettie trims hers. I kind of would take it and I would kind of just pull some of that fiber off and make the section shorter, but she trimmed hers, and like I showed you, her pumpkin turned out really well, so obviously that technique worked for her yesterday.
And then you brush it with a little glue.
And just bring your hands a little, yep, you're good. I mean, you were still in the frame, but just, you could be a little bit more towards the center.
That looks like ribs.
Yeah.
And then you keep going until you got it all the way around the pumpkin.
Yeah, and if it's not quite as defined as you want, you can still add more, or you can just take a little toothpick, and I'll find my toothpick. You can take a toothpick and just make your little indentation like that. Now I'm going to show you also later just how you can use the quilt batting. You need to make sure, okay, that's not true. There's always exceptions. So I didn't have as good a luck with some batting that I knew wasn't 100% cotton. It had some polyester in it. I didn't think it worked as well. It didn't stick as well, but I know that others of you might try it and have fine success with that. So if that's all you have, I would still say give it a try if you want to, because that is kind of a faster, or I think it's a faster way of doing it, and it saves you quite a bit of, if you have trouble working with the cotton and just getting super sticky with it, it saves you that step, but I will show you that in a little while. Then, so sorry, sorry. Maybe you're gonna have to like pinch me or elbow me up, but I'm catching it right now because it's on my mind. Anyway, I'm gonna add my little ribs. Now I am doing the cotton ball, and that's why it took me a little bit longer, because I think that cotton balls do take a little longer to get smoothed out.
And now I lost my rib.
That's okay, because you can put it back in some with the toothpick, but I think it's still there. Maybe just do a little larger piece of cotton for it. I think that's going to be a cute pumpkin. Where am I? Okay. I'm going to put mine on. So I just take a little piece like that. And there I have kind of 2 ribs, and I'm going to get stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, people always ask, even though I think I say it a lot, they ask what my glue is and what the ratio is, so I'll repeat again. Maybe that they get tired of waiting for me in the materials section, and so they've skipped it, so that could be why. So it's the school glue, the white school glue, PVA glue, whatever you call it, just the most basic kind of glue for kids, and you mix 1 part glue to 4 parts water. That's my favorite ratio anyway. You can try thicker, you can try thinner. People worry about it not having enough whatever adhesion or strength if they water it down, but I've never had anything come apart. Spun cotton stuff has always been pretty sturdy when it was dry. Of course, when it's wet, you can pick it apart, but once it's dry, it can be quite hard. Okay, so these are not like, this isn't my lumpiest pumpkin, but that's okay because not all pumpkins are. It's kind of whatever you're thinking of. And in fact, the kind of this traditional, or just kind of the grocery store pumpkin, or the pumpkin that's outside every store right now in October, that kind of pumpkin, is fairly smooth. The ribs would hardly be, it's not really lumpy, it is smooth. The ribs are just kind of tiny.
Done.
Okay, and then you need to put a little bit of cotton on for your stem, right? Wrap that wire there. That's kind of like one of those little is it called Jack Be Little? Is that the type of the little mini pumpkin?
All the cotton got stuck to my fingers.
Do you want to go wash and then do your stem, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see Nettie does, I don't know that she gets more cotton on her hands than I do, but it bothers her more. Like I hear from a lot of you that you're just covered in cotton and annoyed and frustrated, and she kind of gets that way too. I don't think she's really like covered, but she's not a fan of the feeling of little bits of cotton on her fingers. I like to kind of make sure that I have made the bottom flat so that your pumpkin will sit nicely and not roll away. And then I would have to say, whenever I make something on camera, I'm not super impressed with it because I don't get to really look at it the same way. I'm looking at it partially through the camera instead of just as it is.
You said
Sorry. Okay. And I didn't catch that one. That one got by me without noticing it. So I'm gonna now here is one place where I do have needle nose pliers, and I don't use them a lot for actually like uses that they are for, but this
You said
okay. This particular wire is fairly fairly thick, and it's not the easiest to bend into a curly cue. So if you have some pliers, you might, and you want to do kind of a curly end to your stem, you might pull out your needle nose pliers. And wrapping the stem is probably I don't know, I think might be the trickiest part for you. Maybe not, maybe making the ribs would be. But like I said, I think you can totally skip that, especially if you're going to paint yours like a jack-o'-lantern. I don't think the ribs are necessary. Said it.
I didn't catch that.
You didn't catch that one, yeah. Okay.
Done.
Look at hers, it's so cute. Now we are actually going to paint them right now because like I said, we're using the watercolor and that goes on so well while the cotton is wet. So let me just pull out my palette here. And then once Nettie has hers painted, I'll let her go because she's been so patient. And we're at the end of her school day, and this was like, you're going to have to help me with the make along today is your last part of school. So she's really ready to be done. Well, today it was.
Oh. Crafts.
So, yes, it was craft or art or whatever.
Oh, right. This is our art.
Yeah. So is this an okay place to put it? Let's put it here, and here's yours. I think that's still on camera. Okay, here's mine. And I'm not very precious. I'm just taking this brush out of the glue because I like this one best for doing just, kind of a base color for. I wouldn't use this one, Nettie, because it'll go a lot faster. Okay. And I'll use this one as the next biggest one I have. What color are you going to do today?
I'm going to
I was just thinking I need to wash my palette off and start over with watercolor just because I've muddied them up so badly lately.
I think I'm going to color mine red.
Like red or kind of the orangey red?
Slightly orangey red.
Okay. That is kind of an orangey red, I think, and this is fairly orangey red. I'm going to do...
That looks cool.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll do... I really love the pink ones, so I think I'm going to do another pinky peach one. I really liked this first one that I did. Is it too dark?
I colored my stem red.
That's okay. We'll now keep on camera, okay, so they can see how yours is going. And we'll fix the stem, because even if we can't, we'll bleed it out with a little water, and then if it doesn't cover, make sure you use water to kind of spread it out a little bit more. Yeah. If we can't cover it with the brown watercolor, we will just use some acrylic craft paint to cover it. So anyway, I made a peachy pink one that I loved for the first one, and now I haven't quite captured that color again. That's probably because my palette is always such a disaster, and so...
If I knew you could do pink pumpkins, I would have done a pink pumpkin.
You want to do a pink one?
Maybe I can do one of those later.
Yeah. So this will go quite a lot darker as it dries. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're painting, that this looks quite pale, but it will probably darken to more like that kind of mauve-y color. Making sure that, so keep your pumpkin, yep, that is a cute, what that pumpkin reminds me of is, I'm not getting any painting done because I'm just watching you. That pumpkin reminds me of those little candy corn Brock's pumpkins that have, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, those are so good.
The mellow green pumpkins, and they just have like the green blob for the stem. That would look kind of cute to make some. And one of you friends, Jessie is her name, but she makes the most beautiful faux spun cotton foods. And like a month ago, she shared, because she had made, I'm going to steal your brush now. Okay. She had made little caramel apples and, yeah, I think like the mellow cream type pumpkins, and they were so cute and they looked so real. So if you're on Instagram, you can find her I think the handle, I always recognize it when I see it, but I don't always know people's handles well enough to get them correct when I'm just like trying to remember it. But I think it's Le Plaisance, and I will try to link her account because she's doing some really cool things with spun cotton. And then I wanted to mention another one of you had emailed. Well, actually, I had several emails in the last weeks from people who were showing me what they'd been making. And the one lady had knee surgery, and she's like, I'm so glad I found you because this is like saving my sanity or something along those lines, because she was laid up after her knee surgery. And you wouldn't believe she'd made this fairy mouse. Maybe I'll get a picture of it overlaid in here. And it was so cute, so magical, so original. And she'd used toilet paper for the ears, and the ears were amazing. And then she sent me a photo a few days later. She'd made her a pet portrait in spun cotton of her poodle, a black poodle, and it was like insane, like so good. And I was like, how did you do the hair? And she had taken kitchen twine. That's why I'm saying, like, just think outside the box. But she'd taken kitchen twine and wrapped it around bamboo skewers and used the glue wash on it, and then like dried the curls and glued them on, and it was so amazing. And I will try to get a photo of that. I'll ask her if she's okay with me sharing it. Oh, that's so cute, Sweet Pea. And I would have to say, if I'd been watching that you were doing the face, I would have had you do it once it was dry, because it won't bleed as much. But if you guys do a pumpkin with a face, I would say put it in the oven to dry at least partially before you put the face on, and then you won't have as much bleeding. But isn't that cute?
It's fine.
I love it.
It's fine that it's bleeding.
No, it's fine.
I wanted it to look goofy anyway.
It looks very like old and antique-y, right? Kind of silly, like the old Halloween decorations were. I love it. Okay, so is there anything you want, because I've talked and talked. Do you want to say anything about this today?
I want to say Happy Halloween, and thanks for watching, and I hope you like making these.
Thank you for helping me today, Sweet Pea. By the way, Nettie is 9 in case you're 9.5 if you're wondering. So this is a great thing to do with kids. I mean, you could definitely do like paper clay pumpkins, like that's great too. But if you want to try something a little different, not paper mache, which in a way I do think that this is easier than paper mache, or a little less stuff to pull out. I don't have to make the paste. I don't have to pull out all my paper stash, which can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming to me. So anyway, I think it is a good thing to do with kids. Isn't that cute? I love it. So that's what mine's going to look like, and hers before we dry them. And then I will pop them in the oven and show you how they turned out. And I'll show you one other method for making a pumpkin, and kind of what it's like to use the mica if you want to. And I will put some Mod Podge on one to show you what that turns out like. So when I dry, I just heat up either my toaster oven to like 250. You can go, Nettie, if you want to 250. And then I either let them stay in there for like 10 minutes, or you can just heat it to 250 and pop them in while it's off. The other thing you can do is, if you've had an oven that's on and it's been at like 350 or whatever, and you've turned it off, you can put your things in and just let them sit there. And after 20 or 30 minutes, they should be nice and dry. Or you can actually just, preheat your oven if you haven't been using it and you don't mind turning it on. I have a lot of suggestions and of course, like a heating duct is a good way to dry them, set them over that. I have trouble doing that because one, it takes a lot longer, and I sometimes, like when I'm shooting these, I need them to be dry quicker than that. And the other thing that happens is my cats have figured that out, and they think that's this great game of like, look what she's left for us on the heating duct, and then they lose my things. Like, I have things that I know are that they have pushed like back. Sorry, people are going to be like, just stop talking. But they've pushed back behind baseboards, and then have dropped down into the ceiling joists or the floor joists, depending on which way you're thinking of it. But I know that I have many spun cotton things and I'm under the floor of my kitchen because they have thought that that I put some spun cotton things there for them to play with and then lose. So these are going to go in the oven, and we'll come back and do a little bit more. So here's another technique that you can use. Take your foil, and if you don't have wire, I'm going to show you, you can just make do with some twine or string, just whatever. I'm going to make I really like squashy flat pumpkins, so that's the shape I'm going to make this time. And I'm just kind of making it have a little divot on the bottom. Okay, then, because I think probably some of you tuning in might have quilt batting around, especially since some of you might be coming from Nikki Franklin and her little pumpkin publication that she's putting out this month. Most of you who follow her would be stitchers, and so I'm thinking you might have quilt batting around. So I've been experimenting with quilt batting for clothes when I'm doing the mice, although we're going to kind of move on a little bit from mice and make some other kinds of animals soon, although we're going to make things for our mice still. But I just want to, for a few of you who are, you know, having mouse fatigue or actually have like a mouse phobia, I like to provide something that's not mouse related. So you can do this with, you can do this with hot glue. I also experimented with it with Elmer's glue yesterday, so that worked too. You just have to be a little bit more ginger as you're handling it, because the Elmer's glue isn't going to hold it on in a really kind of, it's not going to be sturdy until the glue has set up. So you've got to handle it a little more gingerly. But if you're not afraid of using hot glue, or you enjoy using hot glue, or you just want this to be a really speedy process, then I think this is the quickest way to get a pumpkin assembled or created. So, and I know that's why I tried with Elmer's glue. I mean, hot glue is just like melted plastic, so I know this is not very environmentally friendly. We are recycling the foil, and I do try to, you know, like, this is just jute twine off of other things that I've saved. But I mean, not that, you know, it's a little piece of string. I'm not saving the world here, but we can try to be a little bit more thoughtful in our materials and not run out and just buy a bunch of things. So that's why I always see if there are alternatives or if it works in different ways, because I don't want to just encourage all kinds of like consumption of either things that aren't great for the environment or just consumption in general, like, hey, you need to go get more art or craft supplies to do this, because I know that can just get, it's cost prohibitive, but it's also just maybe not the best decision to make. So see how that is. And so in those little spaces, it's going to be indented. So I just take some of my fluff. You can definitely do this with cotton balls, but I'm now going to use my nicer fiber because I have my nicer fiber. And if I give these to someone, or I don't know, and when I'm painting, I would have to say one thing I've noticed recently is this cotton fiber that I've been buying, and it says that it's organic. I mean, it's kind of like, sometimes it's hard to know what you can trust. It's not being sold by like a certified seller, so I'm kind of skeptical about whether it's actually organic. But anyway, I noticed that it doesn't take the pigment of watercolor paint quite as, I don't know, as easily, I guess, as the cotton balls. The cotton ball fiber darkens up a lot more quickly, and seems to suck up, I would say is more absorbent just in general of like water and stuff. Can't really explain that. It may just be the type of cotton. Like I'm sure there's different varieties of cotton, and maybe this particular fiber just isn't as absorbent as what you would use for a cotton ball, because that is something that we tend to want to hold a lot of like liquids, I guess, when you're thinking about the uses that there are for it. So maybe because this is meant for spinning or stuffing things, maybe the absorbency isn't what it's been like raised or bred for. I don't know. That's probably not interesting to anyone, but it's just an observation that I've made. So when I was painting the cotton ball pumpkins that I was practicing with, they did end up a little bit darker than these. And I think that's nice in a way, but I also like how this fiber, which you can find on Amazon, I'll link it. They sell a pound of it for a decent price. A pound is quite a lot. It's like, I can't show you because I'll be out of frame, but it's like a big thing and it's vacuum packed. So I'll link that. What I was going to say is that I like that it doesn't quite fully absorb in some places, so it gives you some nice natural sort of highlights. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I like that there's some parts where it's lighter. And I was going to show you too. This is cotton balls. I think it turned out pretty well. And I didn't paint it at all. This is just the cotton ball and just dried naturally. I didn't add any mica or anything to it, but it would look nicer if I had. But I wanted you to see, if you don't have any of that stuff, that this is how it can look if you wanted a white pumpkin. I think it looks nice that way. This one I did add a little mica to. And anyway, here's our jute stem pumpkin, and I've got one little part of foil that didn't quite get covered here, so I'm going to cover that. I will paint this one. I don't know if you'll want to see it, but I guess I'll film the painting and I can just speed it up and put music behind it if I think maybe it would be helpful. I'll probably do this one green, maybe, or bluish green. Oh, and I was going to say, so I will link the big amount of this supposedly organic cotton fiber. It might be, I hope it is. And I then also have just my little spun cotton starter kit in the shop, which has kind of a variety of fibers to experiment with, and then a few other things, like if you're going to make animals or something, it has the bead eyes and the post eyes, glass post eyes, and other little bits of things for making stuff like that. So I will put all those links below like usual. And now I'm just going to paint, but with no sound. And the stem on this, what I think would work or would look nice is I'm just going, so this is not wired at all like the others. Actually, let me see if I can just actually peel away so jute twine is usually like 1 or 2 or 3 strands of twine twisted together depending on the thickness of it. And so you can kind of peel it apart, and I'm just kind of twisting it to get some of that, like how the vine is on an actual. So up here, is where the pumpkin would have been attached to the vine. And I like now that they do leave sometimes the stems longer with some of the twisty, gnarly stuff coming off, because I think that is a little more natural and dramatic and artistic looking. I may work with that stem a little bit, and I've kind of pulled it apart down there, so maybe I should add a bit of my glue wash to make the bottom part of the stem more solid. Okay, whether or not I keep all of those curlies, I might trim one of them off, but that's kind of what I'm going to go with for now. And I'm going to paint it and pop it in the oven with the others to dry, and then I'll show you how you can finish them. Here are the 2 pumpkins well, actually I made this one too. So all of these pumpkins that I made yesterday, this is how they came out. I think they're really sweet. I think the jute is nice, and it, with a little glue wash, it did kind of get stiffened up there. And I just kind of put some Mod Podge and mica dust on these two a few minutes ago, and I'm waiting to see if the Mod Podge actually disappears. I don't know why. That's why I don't really do Mod Podge a ton on my cotton stuff, because I have mixed success with that. I don't know if it's me or just, you know, how it's working on cotton. That is my grandma's. I inherited, my grandma had 2 or possibly 3 Autobahn bird clocks that make a bird call on the hour, and Mom just recently gave me one, and I have it here in the studio. So if you are hearing a bird that sounds very near, I'm not outside. It's just my grandma's bird clock. Anyway, so this one, I didn't use any Mod Podge on. I just used my mica dust on the top when I was done, and I am pretty sure that I just use a little bit of the glue wash, but I've also just done it with water when I didn't want to cover over any of my paint color. I just brush that on with water, and then if you're worried about it, it's pretty, like, because it's cotton, it's going into the fiber pretty well, but you can always use like a setting sealer finish spray. That's the kind that I use like on my nice art that I really don't want to risk the Mod Podge on. I've done Mod Podge before, let me show you, with success. Like, I did these little veggie pins. That turned out really nice. Like, the finish is nice and clear and kind of shiny, which is what I wanted on that particular little beat. But I don't know why this is looking like it might be gunky. We'll see. I'll just give it a little bit more time. So I'm gonna do this one. I'm just gonna leave, and I'm just gonna do a little of the mica, which I will link below where I got this, but I've also seen it on Amazon, and I'm fairly certain that it is basically the same stuff anywhere you get it. So I can link where. I haven't bought it on Amazon yet, but it looked just the same as what this is. There's different like hues to it, so you can get more of a silvery color. This is a gold tinted. I think there's a pearl, but I kind of prefer the warmer gold color. And just to make it look a little bit more magical, but they're cute the way they are. And then, of course, after I was pretty much done shooting this video, I had this idea last night, because I do sometimes wish that what I made, like, these are nice little, you know, they're knicky-knacks, like, there's not a lot of use for them, they're just decorative, you know, to put on a table or shelf or whatever, but I always kind of wish I could make things that were useful with spun cotton or paper mache or whatever I'm doing, and I was like, oh, actually, we could make this kind of semi-useful. Like, what I'm thinking is, like, these would make really nice little party favors on a table if you had a dinner or get together, a little ladies' luncheon or something. And then I thought, well, actually, you could do an actual place card holder. So this pumpkin is made around a rock, and I was trying to think what else would be heavy. Like, I live on a rock road, so I can walk out and get a handful of rocks, and it's no skin off anyone's nose. I hope most of you, like, if you wanted to do this, would have a place where you could snitch a few rocks. Maybe you've got your kids' rock collection and they wouldn't miss a few of them. But anyway, that's what I did is, and I'm gonna add this as a bonus on the. I'm gonna actually put it after all of this is done. Then I will put, you know, a little segment on how I did this place card holder, and I did actually make a little PDF file of some different designs of place cards that you could download as a digital download if you wanted to, just because I thought maybe this is the time of year when you might be having a little get together, and so this would make, I just think, a fun little favor after a dinner or a tea, or just if your friend comes over and you want to do something kind of special. Anyway, so back to these. I'll put a little Mod Podge on this one and we'll see how it goes. I think that this is going to mostly disappear. It just looks, maybe I just went too heavy on the mica dust. Maybe I can rub a little of it off. I don't know. That's Nettie's from her first day. And this one I don't know, that she made yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to put anything on it or not. I'll probably just ask her what she wants when she's home. So yeah, Mod Podge is something that I've had mixed results with. And I bet that there are quite a few of you out there who have more experience with it than I do. So maybe you are thinking of reasons why it's a little bit fickle for me. If you have suggestions, weigh in, because you will benefit me, but also the community, because I know that nobody wants to get something completely made and then have it be kind of ruined, or if not ruined, kind of, I don't know, made less than perfect at the very end. Not that I encourage the idea of perfection, but you know what I mean. Like, just, you don't want to go backwards right at the very end. And then I think we'll do a bit of the mica dust. I've just got it kind of a little pile here on the foil. And a tiny bit of the flakes. The flakes are a little large for these, I think, so I'm not going heavy on them because they just don't sit very nicely on something so tiny. But I do think we will use some of the mica flakes for the holiday kind of ornaments and projects that I'm thinking of. So I will put links in, so if you want to invest in a little bag of mica flakes or mica dust, I think that it's a nice way to give your ornaments a vintage and festive and magical touch. So that's all I do. And then I'm just, I don't know, I'll just add the kind of place card pumpkin at the very end, so that if you've seen enough, you can sign off here. And if you want to see how I did the place card pumpkin around a rock, you can stay tuned for that. So thank you for making with me today, and Nettie. I appreciate you all so much, all of your encouragement, support, likes, comments, sharing the video, whatever you do. And I will see you soon, and happy making to you. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to make our beautiful pumpkin placeholder. You may or may not want to make yours pink. I made some originally that were more that peachy, bronzy color that's more natural. So it's really just do what makes you happy. So I'm starting with a stone or a rock off of the road. I kind of tried to find a smoothish shape, but it doesn't need to be perfectly round. And you could definitely, if your rock is more sharp edges, that is fine too. Just make sure that once you cover it with your foil, you're rounding that shape out. But I take a really long length of wire. I didn't measure it for you, but I would say at least it was probably about 16 inches is my best guess. And I wrap it around the rock a few times. I'm just wanting to leave a lot of extra for the top to make a nice big kind of loopy, coily holder for a place card or a photo, especially like if you're going to hold something larger with it, you want to have a good amount of wire to make a generous kind of holder for that. So then you just take your foil and wrap it around your rock and get it to the size and shape that you want. I went with a rounder pumpkin, like a taller pumpkin. For this one, I just wanted that kind of Cinderella shape. And if your foil, if you feel like it's not kind of holding together tightly, because this was kind of a torn up piece of foil, you can add just a little masking tape to secure it. I had actually recorded sound with these video clips, but I was so anxious these days that it was not great. I didn't think I was even making a whole lot of sense. So I knew I needed to record a voiceover, and I was trying to do that yesterday. So I've just secured my foil a tiny bit, and I didn't hot glue the wire in or anything. I just am kind of relying on those few loops around the rock to hold the wire inside the foil and be secure, and I've done several and they all have been. And then for this one I am using my quilt batting. This is 100% cotton. I think that you could get away, especially if you're going to hot glue it to the foil base or armature, you can get away with some that has polyester in it if that's what you have. Just make sure that when you go to cover it with cotton that you get it fully covered, because I don't think that polyester will take the paint as easily. Although if you use acrylic paint, you might be fine. But I just like to make sure that once I am going to the part where I'm covering with cotton fiber, that I get all of that batting at least covered with a thin layer of the cotton fiber. So anyway, I'm just attaching with hot glue. Like I said, you can do it with Elmer's glue, or a tackier glue would even be better than Elmer's, but I did it. I tried it with Elmer's, and as long as you just hold it carefully, your batting isn't going to slide around too much. Or if you want to, you could even let it dry for half an hour, and that might make it a little more secure as you're working with it to cover with the cotton fiber. So I do like to pull the batting. I just cut a strip, a thin strip, maybe about, I don't know, would it be a centimeter? It's not a centimeter across. I don't think it's thinner than that, just under a centimeter across. And then I just pull it into little pieces, because I find that kind of torn edge, or torn end, I should say, kind of then those little edges all kind of work together. Instead of making like a big clunky lump at the top or the bottom, they all kind of like melt into each other, because it's like it's thinner there at that end. So that is, I hope that makes sense, but that's why I tear it instead of cut it. Otherwise you can end up with kind of a knobby place, and that's more of a problem on the bottom of your pumpkin, because you're wanting it to sit pretty level and flat. So do make sure when you're done with this that you can kind of set it down, and that it sits in a nice way and isn't going to be really tilted to one side or teetering around. So then I am using my nicer fiber. I just enjoy using it. It's very smooth and easy to work with, and it's linked below. So if you're using cotton balls, and if you don't have quilt batting too, so I'll kind of talk about, I showed you early on when I was making the small little pixie pumpkin with Nettie. That was one where I just used cotton balls and made the ribs with just the actual cotton fiber, by just making kind of covering it initially and then making a larger section, just taking little clumps of the cotton, and then you can you brush it on, and then if you want to go back and kind of make the indentations more defined, you can use your toothpick like I did. So you can do this without the quilt batting, and you don't need the really fine cotton fiber. You can do it with cotton balls. My best advice always with cotton balls is just that don't leave the cotton ball like a big, really kind of unroll it like I show you, and then work with thin sections of it, kind of tear it apart into little fluffy pieces, and that way you're not going to get kind of such a lumpy effect with it. There are going to be small little, because cotton balls aren't quite as, their texture isn't totally consistent, like there's still small little nubs in it, so that is hard to like just completely eliminate that, but you can get rid of the bigger lumpiness if you just work with small sections all the time with your cotton balls. And it might take a little bit longer to get your shape as smooth as you want it, but it's possible, and I made several of these with cotton balls, and I don't think most people would even be able to pick them out. Then I thought for the stem, I just cover in cotton. I wrap the stem, but then I thought, oh, I want to have some little viney curly cues coming off of it. So I took some cotton kitchen twine, just a small little short piece of it, and I held it up there against the stem, and then I wrapped with a little bit more cotton so that it would be covered at the stem part, but then be coming out at the top of the stem. And then I'm just gonna kind of tease those, because most yarn is made of several strands, like I mentioned with the jute. So this is another 3-strand yarn, and I'm just kind of teasing them apart and then twisting them into curls or curly cues, or kind of just something that looks like those little bits of the vine that are left. So I thought that was I liked that sort of, and I know I'm not being I'm not going for the realistic look because I'm going to paint this pink, but I still do love like that kind of natural looking stem. I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of a pumpkin. So that's why I take the time to do that. But you may not want to fuss with the stem, and that's perfectly fine. I don't know if I mentioned with your extra wire, you'll definitely want to curl that into some sort of loop or shape while you don't want to just leave it like long and flopping around, because you will be like snagging it on everything and knocking things off your workspace. So I do recommend, even if it's not in exactly the shape that you want to keep it in, just like kind of fold it up on itself so that you're not struggling so much. And then everything I've shown today has been watercolor for painting. I just thought that watercolor would be beautiful on the pumpkins. I definitely think they would be cute with acrylic, and I have all these paint samples from painting the exterior of the house. I just have the little, well, I have some that are quartz and some that are smaller. So I'm going to try some of this gold color that I picked out, when I thought I was going to be really bold and have like a mustard color door, and I turned out to be too chicken to do that. But I do like the samples, and I'm going to paint a pumpkin with that. But I think the watercolor really does beautifully on these, and it is so nice to do on wet cotton. So I think that's fun. And I had a beautiful sample of Opera Rose watercolor that a friend sent me a few years ago, and I've used just tiny bits of it because I love it, and I've been saving it. And then when Nettie and I were making, and she said, "Oh, if I knew we could make a pink pumpkin, I would have." I thought, well, I'll do one, and then maybe she'll do her own later. But I just thought it would be fun, and it was. I love it, and then it kind of spawned those little paintings for the place cards, which I find they remind me of, well, dresses. I had pink gingham dresses. Then Nettie had one of my hand-me-down pink gingham dresses when she was about 4, which I just loved so much. Then blue gingham, I've had that for a few things. And then there was yellow gingham kitchen curtains at some point in someone's kitchen when I was a child. So it seemed very nostalgic, these little designs. And I don't know, they just made me really happy when I came up with them. They are comforting. And then I thought, oh, they would, I guess the gingham and kitchen connotation, they would work really well for, labeling a little jar of jam, or if you wanted to like print it on label paper, or you could print on regular paper and cut it out and, punch a hole and tie it with a ribbon or twine or whatever. Anyway, I'm just saying things you already know. I'm using my mica dust to really give this kind of, and I did find, and I think I mentioned this at some point, that as I added the mica, it softened that really, really vibrant hot pink a little bit, which I was kind of glad, because at this point, when it was still wet, I was not sold on it. And as I added the mica, it did soften it. And you could definitely have, a similar effect with glitter or mica flakes or something else. But I I just wanted this one to be very soft, and I loved the texture of it, so I just left it like that. And I haven't put any finish or sealer on it yet. I'll see if I think that's necessary, but I think it's very beautiful the way it is, and it was so much fun to make. So there is our beautiful pink Cinderella pumpkin placeholder. I just wanted to do a comparison for you so that you could see the difference between a cotton ball pumpkin and the fancier fiber. It's not a huge difference in my opinion, and for sure, like with the mica flakes on it, you just don't notice it that much. Maybe there's a little difference in how it takes the paint, like I was talking about, but you can definitely just use cotton balls and have a pretty good result with that. And I did want to mention, leave a larger loop of wire than I did for this first one, so that you've got plenty of wire there to hold anything that you might want to. So it's a little bit more versatile than just for a place card. And I dried this in the oven, and I did notice that the pumpkins tend to stick a little bit on the bottom. So my best advice is you can either prop them up like on a couple, you can make like a little platform for them on toothpicks. Can you see that? Like skis or whatever. Or you can, I always put a little piece of baking parchment underneath, and then I just check, like I pop it in there in a warm oven, and I just check every 5 or 10 minutes. I kind of lift it up and make sure that the bottom isn't sticking. If it sticks and it kind of pulls the cotton up, you just come back over to your glue and you know, push it back down with your brush and just get it to stick again. And then maybe when you put it in the next time, lay it on its side so that it's starting to get drier on the bottom, and that way you've got something that isn't going to stick as much or as badly. It's not a disaster if it sticks, you just, it's the bottom. So you just kind of push it back down and let it dry some more. But I just like to check it because that helps it to not stick quite so badly. And there's my couple of the little gingham place cards that I think, I don't know, I just really like them. They make me happy, and that's kind of the point, isn't it, of our making, is to do something that makes us happy. So I think these turned out sweet. Here's Nettie's little face pumpkin. Like I said, if you want to do jack-o'-lantern type faces on yours, just go ahead and dry it at least partially or fully before you do the details. But he's sweet. He's a little squashy face pumpkin. And I think the Mod Podge did eventually, let's see if I can, it doesn't look as, it looked gloopy and still kind of tacky and white, and now that it's like 3 or 4 days later now, it's very hard and more of like that shellac look, which I think is good for a pumpkin. So it went fine. So if I made you feel squeamish about using Mod Podge during that section, I think it did turn out okay. So don't fear it too much. Just kind of test it maybe on one of your pumpkins first, and then see how that goes, and then go ahead, because you just don't. I don't want any of you to feel like you've lost your good work. So anyway, I hope that was fun. I do enjoy making with you, because I do imagine you all there and have that conversation with you. And if I didn't do these, I wouldn't end up some of the places I do, like a pink pumpkin and place cards. I would not have done that without kind of this platform or whatever, just this kind of idea of making with you and also with Nettie. So ideas happen that way, and I appreciate all of you and this community that we have. Keep sending me comments and messages. I love to hear from you, and I don't know, I just wish you happy making. Oh, and sorry, I'm thinking about holiday stuff, so I maybe look for like a poll kind of in like the community tab, where you can vote on what I decide to do for our holiday ornament, because I want it to be something that is exciting to all of you. And on Instagram, people voted for a bird, so I'm leaning towards that, but I might give you a couple bird options to choose from. So anyway, thank you so much. Be well, and happy making to you.